Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zachary, back bringing some more daily NBA news. Thank you all for joining me back here once again, but now let's just get into everything that went down yesterday. The first bit of news that we have to talk about today revolves around my favorite player that isn't on the Detroit Pistons, Kawhi Leonard. As terrible news broke yesterday that he very well could miss the rest of this NBA season, and this was according to Gregg Popovich himself.
You know, and Kawhi, I'll be surprised if he returns this season.
The answer he gave there was pretty vague. Didn't go into what made him think that, so of course the next question that the reporters had to ask him was why? Why do you think that Kawhi Leonard is going to miss the rest of the season? And he says it's just because of how many games are left. There's just not enough time.
Well, we only have X number of games left in the season, and he's still not ready to go. And if by some chance he is, it's going to be pretty late into the season, and it's going to be a tough decision. How late you bring somebody back. So that's why I'm just trying to be honest and logical. I'll be surprised if he gets back this year.
So there's that, but then when this news really takes a turn into pure madness is with the reports that came out following this. As we got news that Kawhi Leonard has been medically cleared to play, but it's just that he's opting not to return to action. For Leonard's return, the decision rests with his comfort level managing the discomfort with the right quad. He's been long cleared to return. The final decision still remains with him. Right now, Kawhi Leonard is away from the team in New York seeking a second opinion on his leg. And I say this gets crazy because do you guys remember when the reports were coming out saying that there was a rift between Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs? At the time, it made no sense. That was pretty much out of nowhere. On top of that, you had guys like R.C. Buford, the GM of the San Antonio Spurs, come out and say that no, there is nothing wrong with Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs. The two sides are working together to try and figure out what's wrong with him. However, at the same time, they're puzzled because Tony Parker suffered a similar injury, but the treatment they used for him hasn't been working so far for Kawhi Leonard. So back then, I thought if anything, if there was a shred of truth to those reports, it was just that Kawhi Leonard was frustrated that he wasn't able to go out on the court and play because of this mysterious injury that they couldn't seem to fix. And on the Spurs end, I thought they were just being extra precautious about this injury like they always are. Now though, mixing the old reports with the new reports, it seems like it might have been the opposite. The San Antonio Spurs have been telling Kawhi Leonard that he's good to go. He's medically cleared to play. There is nothing wrong with him anymore. While on the other hand, Kawhi Leonard says, you know what? No, something still doesn't feel right. Regardless of that, he tried to go out there and play for a bit, but then we all know what happened. First off, he tore something in his shoulder, then tried to come back for like a game or two, and then went down again with the same injury. And now once again, they're saying, look, Kawhi Leonard, you're good to play. All you need to do is go out there and play, let us know, and you'll be good. And he's still saying, no, something is wrong with my leg. And that is why he's in New York right now getting a second opinion on his injury, which isn't a good sign that he doesn't trust the medical staff of the San Antonio Spurs, but it might not be as bad as some people make it out to be. That's just my opinion on this though, giving all the stuff that we actually know, all the evidence that we have. And of course, there are going to be some people saying, well, Kawhi Leonard is just opting to sit out because he doesn't want to play for the San Antonio Spurs. You guys know the twists and the turns that story took when it first came out. The original story about there being a rift between the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard. People thinking that he's going to get traded. And this just gave more birth to stuff like that. Of course, now that he's in New York, people are saying Kawhi Leonard to the New York Knicks confirmed. Him refusing to play is his way of demanding a trade. There are seemingly endless theories out there floating around, but there is no proof. They're theories, they're myths. There is no actual evidence suggesting that Kawhi Leonard does not want to play for the San Antonio Spurs, so I can't really present that as news. In other news, we have an update of sorts on the whole NBA looking to change the way the playoffs are formatted thing. As LeBron James was asked for his opinion on the matter yesterday, and this is what he had to say.
I mean, I would disagree with that. I think our league has been built the right way as far as when it comes to the postseason. There's been dominant conferences throughout time. Obviously, in the 80s you had it was a mismatch. So you had the Lakers who dominated the league at one point, and you had Boston who dominated the league. In the 90s you had Chicago who dominated the league. San Antonio has run. We had our run in the East with Miami. Golden State is having their run. So, I mean, it just changes the landscape of the history of the game. If you start messing with seedings, the playoffs, then you start talking about, well, if this team would have played this Western Conference team, what he would have, so it's cool to mess around with an all-star game. We can, and we proved that you could do that, but let's let's not get too crazy about the playoffs.
As soon as I heard that, I already knew what some people were going to be saying. Of course, LeBron James doesn't want to change the way the playoffs are formatted. Of course, he wants to keep it East versus West. That way it can stay out in the East and at least make the finals every single year. If there's no conferences, LeBron James might not make it to the NBA finals. I don't know if that's his actual reasoning for not wanting to change it, but what I do know is that the reasons he gave for keeping it the way they are kind of off. He kept bringing up the fact that each era has a dominant conference, but in the end it all balances out, so it doesn't really matter. It's fair, which is true, but first of all, who on earth cares about which conference has more championships than the other? The only people who care about what conference or what team wins a championship are the fans of that team. You don't see Spurs, Lakers, Rockets, or Wolves fans out on the streets celebrating because the Warriors won the championship and they're from the same conference as their favorite team. They don't care. We can care less about which conference has been dominant. And as for the whole conference championships not existing anymore thing, no one really cares about those either. That's just a terrible argument to keep the playoffs the way they are. If we get rid of conference championships, the banners from the past mean nothing. Look, they already meant nothing. When we bring up a player's or a franchise legacy, how often do you hear, oh, they were a 5-time conference champion? What does that mean? And for his last part, well, people would start wondering, well, what if this team played in the East? What if this team played in the West? What if no conferences existed back then? It would mess with NBA history. People already kind of do that now. We wonder all the time, what if the Cavs were in the West? What if the Thunder or the Blazers or any other team out West was in the East? How good would they be? We already do that type of stuff. And this will be just another part of the evolution of the game. Things change. What if the NBA was as physical today as it was 20 or 30 years ago? What if the three-point shot was as dominant back then as it is today? There's an endless number of what if scenarios that are based upon changes that the NBA has undergone since its existence. All in all of his arguments were just kind of off base. Maybe he misunderstood why it is in the first place that the NBA is looking to change the way the playoffs are formatted. So here it is. Look, the reason the NBA is looking to change the playoffs is because they want to guarantee that the best of the best are in the playoffs and that the two best teams are in the NBA Finals. For example, right now this season, you got the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. Those two teams have been the best so far this year. But because of the conferences and the way the playoffs are right now, there is no way that they will be able to meet in the NBA Finals, which doesn't seem right that a team worse than the second best team in the NBA is going to make it to the finals because they're in this thing called a different conference and the way the playoffs are structured. So that's why they're looking to change it. And overall, I just can't think of a legit argument against changing it to a 1/16 no conference format. The only thing in the way, like Adam Silver said, is travel. If it weren't for travel, I have a feeling the playoffs would have changed years ago. But that's going to lead us to the question of the day. And today's question of the day is this: what do you guys think is going on with Kawhi Leonard? This whole situation is pretty messed up. So let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. But now let's take a look at what you guys said in yesterday's video. And yesterday, after Anthony Davis says he does not want to go down as one of the players who waited too long to request a trade, I asked you guys, are the New Orleans Pelicans doomed? Is it guaranteed at this point that Anthony Davis is going to ask for a trade at some point? And here's what you said. Honestly, if I'm AD, I'm waiting to see how this year and maybe next offseason goes. If it doesn't go well, I'm out of there. So I would say the Pelicans have maybe 2 years at best. Even if everyone's healthy, do you really see them winning a championship? I don't. That's the thing. When the Pelicans were healthy this year, they were a pretty good team. I'm not gonna say they were bad. They were battling for like the 5th seed in the Western Conference. The thing is though, that was close to their peak. I don't know how they're going to get much better. They've already exhausted most of their resources. They don't have any more money to spend. They don't have any assets to trade to get better. And they still have a lot of holes to fill before they can actually be considered a championship level team. So I don't know how they would get better. That's the big problem here. So New Orleans at this point just has to hope and pray that something drastic happens, some miracle happens that launches them to the upper echelon of the NBA. Best case scenario, because Anthony Davis is so loyal, I can see him riding out the rest of his contract. I believe he's going to be a free agent in the summer of 2021. If by then the Pelicans aren't legit contenders, but they're still fighting to make the playoffs or even in the middle of the pack of the Western Conference, he's most likely gonna leave. Don't forget to leave your answer for today's question of the day down in the comment section below. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to smack that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more daily NBA news, as well as join the quest to 200,000 subscribers, hashtag a milli in a year. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see all of you right back here tomorrow, but until then, I am out of here.